Have posted this many times before. Be Irish kid, 13. Stoned off of my friend from fucking around with good friendos last night. Wake up, I live in a large enough farm BTW. Hear the dog barking and crap. Look outside. A large wolf-like creature, crawling awkwardly along the ground a good while from the window. Mother lover stands up. Has human hands, human feet but fur around rest of body, 7 foot freaking tall. Climbs the fence, halfway through it looks directly at me through the little slit in the blinds. Does so for about 3 seconds. Quickly gets back on its hands and feet and does a sideways crawl into the undergrowth. Fucking terrifying. I stayed in my room with my father's .22 and shotgun until my parents arrived home. Oh, and I've seen some weird shit at the local dolmen, Celtic ancient pagan burial ground, at night, some weird noises and random rocks hitting the ground.
OP here. About 2 months ago. Somewhat bad winter and driving to a friend's in central Washington. Driving on 2 hours of sleep, my fault, just was having a nasty Christmas. Driving freeway to Moses Lake. Friend decides backroads will be quicker due to 4x4. Already a creepy part of town, and stuff wasn't feeling right that day, part of sleep deprivation. Just off vibe, felt like I was being watched constantly. Basically slow to a crawl of 10 miles per hour on the backroads. I see eyes, probably deer, about every 10 minutes the whole second half of the drive, everything dark and forbidding. That whole damn trip I just felt like I was being watched. It was probably lack of sleep, but I have always hated those roads.
This one is from when I was a child and just a passenger in my parents' car. From the UK. Be about 8. Dad is driving down a country road at night. Mum in the front passenger seat, I'm in the back. Everyone is silent, has been a long drive. Suddenly I start to see really horrible faces pass by on the side of the road. Not sure how to describe them, just really horrific faces. Next thing I know the car has stopped suddenly, don't even remember slowing down. Mum and Dad are just sitting there silent. I can't talk. See the horrible faces all around the car for a brief second. Suddenly we are moving again. Faces are gone and parents don't say anything. Next day I asked my mother about what had happened, she said nothing happened at all. Only I could remember it. I have considered that I may have had a vivid dream, but I am certain I was awake. Also worth noting that at the time I had no idea about aliens. I know it sounds like bullshit, but it's the honest truth. I've posted this story here before.
Used to live in a really old house. 2 floors. Hear something like footsteps upstairs sometimes. Creaking floorboards and shit. We just chuck it up to it being an old house and our cat to preserve our sanity. Little sister born. Cries every night when in bed. She's a baby so it's normal. Doesn't stop even when she grows older. Learns how to speak. Still cry whenever she has to sleep. My mom asks her why. She tells us she's afraid of the man with red eyes walking around upstairs. That house was scary as shit. Even as a teenager I was scared as fuck to sleep if no one else was in the house. 10 years later and she can still remember the guy she saw.
Be me, ODIOUS. Be 14, 4 years ago. Be in cadets and be on first ever camp. On a farm, with bush, which the RAF uses as a training ground for their airfield defense guards, ADG. Get told AJ's being trained for observation and that we are being observed. OK.jpg. Fast forward 7 hours, lights out. Move into bush to set up hutchie, open-ended tent, and climb into sleeping bag, fall asleep. Wake up about 3 hours after falling asleep, feel like I'm being watched. Shuffle around in my sleeping bag to get comfortable to try and sleep, look at the end of my hutchie where my head is, looking behind me. See dark figure crouched about 3 meters, 8 feet, away from hutchie, totally unmoving and watching me. Stare at it for a minute or so, stark still. Dismiss it as a tree stump and fall back asleep. Wake up in the morning and look behind me, it's not there. Holy fuck. JPG. Go and tell my sergeant about what happened and he tells me it was probably one of the ODIOUS. Officer overhears and says that the ODIOUS who were training finished their exercise a week ago and told us that story to fuck with us. Not ever going into that bush again. MFW.
Be me. 4 to 6 years old. Living in a shitty house. Puke green color. Wake up every night to use bathroom. See yellow eyes watching me. 3 pairs every time. Black human shape around them. Never made any noise except when close. Only watched and followed me. Eventually cry. Mom runs in turning lights on. Eyes and black figures disappear every time lights go on. One time I woke up to them in front of me, telling me to sleep. Shit happened until we moved. Still remember it to this day. I still have nightmares of that shit, and can never find answers on what they were. I'm tempted to go back to that house and check it out one night. Also, to talk to the owners of it.
I checked in at the counter. God, it feels good to be on vacation. It's true that Bangkok can be a little dangerous, but this is a nice hotel, in a good part of the city, and as long as I stick to the stuff the hotel suggests that see and avoid weird taxis, I should be fine, right? Whatever, a whole week away from everything. I walk into my room and almost drop my fudge. The world you is written in blood on the wall. I call up the manager, more pissed than scared now. He tells me that it probably a prank from the last guys that just checked out or the staff. He tells me that he will have it cleaned by the time I get back. I hit the bars and come back and sure enough it was gone. I walk into the bathroom the next day and start to shave, the steam fogs up the window. I look down to get my razor and when I look up again, kill you, how the fuck did that happen? I think about it. If someone used their finger and wore it yesterday, the oil would stop the steam from fogging up and the words appear. It's got to be the staff, after all it's Bangkok. It was kind of fun. The next day it was all over my shower glass doors. This time it was to kill you. The next day, I walk up and his time I am afraid. The words, in blood on my ceiling, and it's dripping down on me. Going to kill you. I call the front desk but no answer this time. The room is locked and I can't open it. I hide in a corner all day. I can't tell what's going on now. This time I blink and it is written everywhere. Run. Going to kill you. The next morning I try for the door one last time. I can hear the manager on the other side. I cry for help and he tells me he is going to get an axe to break down the door. Relieved, I turn around as he starts to smash through the door. I take one last look at the room and then stop cold at what the blood on the balcony window says. Run. He's going to kill you.
You were out of town for the weekend. When you came back to your apartment, your mailbox was stuffed full. At least 30 letters. Letters with no return address. Several of them felt soggy and heavy, as though they were recently wet, or perhaps contained a liquid. All of the letters have your name and address written on them, and many of them had your name scratched all over them and read in. They don't smell nice, they smell like rotting meat and old garbage, and you're reluctant to take them back to your room, but curiosity gets the better of you. So you manage to cart them all back to your room. You dump them in your kitchenette sink because you don't want them smelling up the rest of the apartment. You grab one that doesn't seem damp and isn't covered with writing, and open it up. There's pictures inside. Pictures of people you don't know, with their eyes torn out, teeth missing, unhinged jaws hanging open, throats ripped out. You're horrified and yet you can't help but wonder what's in the rest of the letters. You open more, and more to discover increasingly gruesome photos of dead people. Piles of bodies with limbs missing, splayed open corpses on operating tables with their vital organs removed, hanged bodies that have been gutted and bled dry. Some of the soggy letters had blood and other fluids in them. The more letters you open, the more you notice that not all of the people are strangers. Some of them were people you see at work, others people you went to high school with. By the time you get to the last few letters, the pictures are of the mutilated bodies of your close friends and family members. Eventually you reach the last letter. You don't want to know what's in it, but it's not like you have a choice now. You peel the letter open, and it's a picture of yourself. Not dead, eyes intact, no limbs missing. It's a picture of you entering your apartment building earlier that day, shortly before you collected your disgusting letters. As you hear a door elsewhere in your apartment open, you black out. From time to time I find myself killing some time on Chatroulette. It is not something I do because I extremely enjoy to, but because it's the only way I can find to socialize with people without leaving the comfort of my home. I have a roommate, a really cool guy, but unfortunately his mom is very sick, so he's visiting his family for the next couple months. One day, after getting back home, I sat down on my bed and opened up my laptop so I could browse the web a little. Didn't take long until I was, once again, on Chatroulette trying to filter all those pervs so I could have a decent conversation with someone. That's when this girl appeared on my screen. She looked like she was crying, but she had her hand on her mouth, trying to keep herself from making any noise. I was about to skip her. I imagined I was about to be pranked and end up on some YouTube video, but she started typing. Please help. I asked her what was happening. She quickly replied that she needed me to call 911 for her. She had entered her house to find that someone had broken in. She slowly backed away and hid inside her closet. She tried calling 911 herself, but her phone was dead, so she grabbed her laptop, which was in her backpack, and the first page that opened was from Chatroulette and I was the person that she connected to. I didn't know what to do. I could be the victim of a prank, but what if this girl really needed my help? I decided to call 911, but before anything I asked her for her name and address. She said her name was Linda. While she was typing her address I was already unlocking my phone so I could call 911, and then, she pressed enter. My eyes started watering. The address she had sent me was my address. I felt a chill running down my spine. I felt weak and accidentally dropped my phone. Words cannot describe what I felt when the sound of my phone smashing against the floor came from the speakers of my laptop. I just stood there, looking at her. She was begging for me to call them. About 2 or 3 minutes later I decided I had to do something about this. I moved towards my closet, carrying my laptop on my hand. When I opened it, nothing was there, but the girl was still on the webcam, crying. I went to my roommate's room. I could hear my footsteps coming from the laptop. I decided this was it. I ran straight to it and opened it in one quick move. A scream came from inside the closet. I kept my eyes on the girl at all times, but when I opened the door a glare blocked the view and she disconnected. There was nothing inside the closet. I ran out of there in the same instant. I ran as far as I could. I felt like there was something chasing me. I kept hearing that same scream on my head over and over. I was getting fatigued but I couldn't stop. I wouldn't stop.
I was 5 or 6, my mother was fighting cancer so she was in an hospital, so my uncle and my grandma were taking care of me at that time. We did not live in a big house, so I had to share a king-size bed with my uncle. I didn't mind, my uncle practically served as my father during my childhood. Each night, I would wake up at 3 a.m. for no apparent reason, so my uncle would get up as well and go in the kitchen to smoke a cigarette and prepare some warm milk in order to make me go to sleep again. Each time he went out of the room, I was compelled to go sit on the ground, in front of the bedside table, and this is where it got weird. My uncle used to keep a bottle of water near the bed, in front of said bedside table. It was nothing fancy, just a regular plastic bottle. I don't know how to put it into believable words because I know this sounds absurd, but this bottle of water would talk to me and some kind of twisted CGI, like mouth would appear on the bottle's neck. The mouth moved, but the voice I heard came from all around me and a disgusting smell of ammonia would invade the room. One asked years later, we never even had ammonia in our house. I don't recall what the voice used to say, except for the fact that it would give me a 5-minute countdown during which I could not move. And I mean, I literally could not move, like it was some kind of paralysis. The voice told me to stay put, and it would threaten my family. It was a warm, adult, male metallic voice. I can't recall most of the things it said, though. When the countdown reached 0, I would run to my uncle and tell him everything. Of course, he didn't believe a word. This went on for 6 daunting months. Every night. Then, one night, I had this hyper-realistic nightmare where I was strapped down to the bed by thorns, and my whole family was being slaughtered as I watched. Blood was everywhere and the ammonia smell was stronger than ever. Then everything went black and the voice told me goodbye. My mother died some days later, and then everything stopped. I still smell ammonia each time I get nervous or physically sick, even if nothing ammonia-based is nearby.
Double zeros. What are the fucking chances? Can you imagine nothing? You can imagine space and the things in space. Airlessness and the void with its stars and nebulae. But if you take away all that and leave it as just the black, is that what nothingness is? No, because there's still the black. I think white would be closer, which is a lack of color. Of course we still identify it as a something, or lack thereof. But the lack of the something is a hard concept to grasp. Even harder when you try and visualize what it would be like to not exist. You are in a state of absolute existence. What's the opposite? The true void. There's people who would choose nothingness over their lives, but do they really get the ramifications? How do I describe this? I didn't see or hear or touch or smell or taste or sense anything, but I experienced it, the nothing. Something hit me one day. I don't even know what it was. I think a painter dropped a can or brush from a height and it hit me in the head. Whatever it was knocked me into nothingness, or the verge. What I had was the pouring into consciousness one gets coming out of a dream, that moment of transition. And I know that I was close, not in or looking at it, but close in some way to a very obvious anti-sensation. And it was terrifying. I guess you could rationalize it as cold. There was no heat or movement, it was that essence of cold, more numb, actually. Total numbness surrounded this poor little fleeting transitionary shiver of sensation that I was. When I came out of it on the sidewalk, nasty bruise on my head, screaming and moving in no particular direction away from nothing in particular. That's why they sent me into therapy for a while, because it messed me up, that dream or vision or glimpse. That's why I have TV on 24/7, that's why I charge most things up with a generator on a bike, that's why I have my Walkman on constantly. I need to know I'm there. I need to know I'm not numb. I'm there. I'm here.
Since I was 16, I never understood why people were so obsessed with the afterlife. My close friends largely called themselves pagan, but I called myself an atheist for a few years, then apathetic up until I turned 25. When I was 25, I spent a long night sitting up with my friends, drinking wine, and talking spirituality. They were talking about the other worlds and the afterlife, saying you found what you were expecting at first and then moved on to the real afterlife when you were ready. I thought it was a cool idea, but since I don't believe in deities, I couldn't convince them that I believed in other worlds. Needless to say, that night I was walking home drunk and I stumbled out in front of a car. I remember bright headlights, a crunching feeling, and then darkness. I woke up in a hospital bed 4 days later, only to learn I'd been killed at the scene. I confided in one of my friends that I'd had an afterlife experience, and that I'd seen my other world, but she laughed it off. She'd never heard it described that way and she didn't see how it was possible. You see, I always believed in nothingness after death, and I always thought it would be like the void of space beyond the stars if I could experience it. It isn't like that at all. It's pitch black, yes, but it's more like a heavy liquid. It weighs down on you. You become the embodiment of existence, and contain the whole of everything within yourself. And even though you can't see anything, you can feel things moving. I don't know what it was, moving through the nothing, but it was big. It had almost reached me when I was pulled back. When I sleep, I can always feel it. And it is getting closer.
That thing has been there for almost a week. The figure in the window. It looks featureless, only skin on a human frame, and it's pressing itself against the glass somehow. I don't know how it got there, and I don't know how to get rid of it. At first I thought it was a prank, a doll, or mannequin that some jerks put there to scare me. But realized as I walked out of my house to pull it away, it wasn't there. I shrugged it off, thinking that someone had hidden it while I was walking through my door. But I went back in and looked out that same window, and it was looking in, staring at me. I walked around my house, yelling for whoever it was to come out, but no one was there. The thing is hairless and naked, and it didn't look like it actually had eyes, or even a face at all. But its head is turned towards me when I enter the room. When I sit on my computer, I can feel its faceless hatred boring into my neck. But when I turn around, it's innocently turned in a different direction. Finally on Thursday I tried to open the window, but it's stuck. I think the thing's hands are keeping it down. But I got a good look at its face. Its eyes and mouth are behind the skin, pushing outward. It stared at me, smiling. Of course, I screamed. I pulled back a fist and smashed it onto the glass, determined once and for all to get rid of the glaring monster. I know I'm strong enough. That glass should have cracked. But it didn't. It shuddered under my hand, but it didn't break. And that smile just got wider and wider and wider, until I thought its head would break in half. It raised its own hand and bashed the window with its palm. It was mocking me. But I saw the faintest crack begin to appear where it had hit, and I backed away. No way did I want that smile in the same room as me. So I got a roll of duct tape, and I started covering the window. I couldn't look directly at it. I nearly shit my pants just knowing it was watching me. But I couldn't help it. I took a quick glance at that skin-covered face. A small peek. It was angry. That grin was now a gaping frown full of teeth. The skin had ripped away from its mouth and I could see down its cavernous throat. A menacing rumble started to fill the house, and that hairline crack began to spread like splintering ice. I pulled down the duct tape. The rumble stopped, the split skin healed over, and it began to smile again. Now it's night, and the noise hasn't started again. There are no sounds, no rumble, no crackling glass. Everything's quiet now. I can feel its claws gripping the back of my chair. I can hear its skin stretching as it smiles. It's watching me type.
Entry number 11517. Captain Cutter here, this will probably our last entry. After all this time, it finally happened. The scientists calculated that something like this had a 78% probability of happening, but we continued with our travel hoping we would never see this day. What else could we do? We were fools thinking we could survive for too long with a 22% of margin, but at least we were happy fools, but not even happiness and ignorance can fight the cruelness of space. This endless and cold black sea is all I have been seeing for years, and I have seen it taking my men without piety, day after day. Every once in a while you see that space is not that empty after all, but that isn't usually a good thing. Every time we discover a new planet our illusions are crushed upon further analysis after discovering that none of them are habitable, but sometimes space plays with something more than our feelings. Asteroids always break something, sometimes with more or less luck, but they always leave their signature in our ship. Last week we crossed an asteroid belt that damaged heavily our ship, and destroyed completely half of our reactors and engines, amongst other things. The energy levels are running out pretty fast and I doubt we can survive for more than 2 days even if we use an emergency saving protocol. I'm pretty pessimistic about this recording being heard by someone, but I'm still leaving it just in case. I want them to know what happened to the Last Hope, how it became a ghost ship in less than 2 weeks. We definitely got pretty far, but not far enough. I doubt anyone will miss us, there is no one waiting for us to return home.
March 14th, 2028. If you are reading this, thank you. This is the day our world ended. As we've learned, the governments of the world knew about the asteroids. Over the past 10 years approximately 5,000 people have been evacuated in an attempt to carry on humanity. Maybe you're a descendant of one of them. Anyways, thank you for finding my letter in its waterproof fireproof lockbox. I left $3,000-ish along with it, since it was there already and I didn't know what else to do with it. So, if it still has any value, enjoy. Smiley face. Anyways, I suppose I just wanted to tell you my story. Our story, I guess. Things are getting pretty crazy outside, so we're locked down in the basement. The boys are playing video games and we've managed to keep them unaware of what's going on. The asteroids are supposed to start impacting about 3 hours from now, and the largest one that's going to land right on top of us in about 3 hours and 20 minutes. The bathroom is all sealed up and ready. We'll go in, shut the door, turn on the gas and drift off to sleep. I love my kids more than anything and I'll tell them. They'll fall asleep thinking everything is okay. That is the only thing giving me peace right now. Their names are Luke and Noah and I love them very much. Thank you for finding this and reading this. Good luck.